Great. Let's start the day, guys, so that we are on with this amazing panel discussion. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone from all parts of the world who have registered for this great webinar happening today. Hope you and your family are doing safe. Just to let you know that today is the last webinar for retail and industry from AI Core Spot side this year end, and we are really excited to host this. Now, to begin with, let me introduce myself and the company to you. My name is Nitin Naveen. I'll be your host for the day. I'm working as Vice President Innovation Strategy at AI Core Spot. I have been joined by my couple of great colleagues, Arvind and Naveen, who will also assist me in keeping the event lively and resolving technical glitches if it comes in between. So thanks a lot to them for putting in hard work and making this one a huge success. We'll try to provide a seamless experience to all of you so that you can gain maximum output out of the same. Let me provide a brief background to all of you about AI Code Spot. We started last year, so we are now 2 years old company. We started last year backed up by InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7 is our technology partner. The focus is to provide all of you a deep dive in all the sectors wherever technology is there. And every month we have a separate theme. We are going momentum on month. Our aim is to be number one AI-driven community all over the world, so that like-minded people like you can be a part of the same in supporting, growing, and making it a success. Our mission is to serve as a hub for information regarding Industry 4.0 technologies, which includes AI, ML, deep learning, digital twin, AR, VR, IoT, robotics, blockchain, 5G, drone, analytics, edge AI, computing, cloud, and so on. We'll enrich the content through different channels like digital content, blogs, podcasts, videos, newsletters to shed light on the ever evolving industry. The focus is to do industry backed webinars and hybrid events. The knowledge base which we'll be gathering will be made from reliable data through the industry leaders, thought leaders, subject matter experts, our partners, community partners, innovation partners, InfoVision. Today we are having a lovely and unique webinar around the great theme, which covers how technology improves warehouse agility. So, if you want to know insights into the altering reality of present day's warehousing operations, explore the support offered by modern technology in the warehouse functions, and so on, then you are in the right place. We'll go all over it throughout the panel discussion and give lots of insights to you. There are lots more in store for this month as well as next year, with focus on banking, financial, insurance, telecom, retail, healthcare, manufacturing, energy utility, supply chain, and so on. So request all of you to go through our website, which is aicorespot.io, for future updates. Also, please like our social media handles, which will keep you all updated on everything what we propose to offer in the coming months to follow. Before starting with the day, I would like to highlight few things so that it can set up the tone for the amazing learning and networking day. Special mention about our knowledge and innovation partner, InfoVision, who has supported us since beginning and provided us the right support to bring the community together. InfoVision is an end-to-end IT and business service provider specializing in providing technology transformation and innovation projects for over 25 years across multiple industries and served 12 global locations including US, Latin America, Middle East, and India. They also have a unique state-of-the-art research and innovation lab named Digit7 in Richardson with 5 great innovative products. So to get in touch with them, kindly log on to their website, which is infovision.com, and leave your details through the contact us section. Now moving on and coming to our community partners for today, it includes FedEx, LoadSmart, Overstock, and Quiet Platform, which came together to make this webinar a success. Special mention to attendees of the event who registered and came together to achieve their objectives through this forum. At the end of the day, if you gain few things out of this or get to network with each other, then our core objective as a platform will be achieved. Further, if anybody wants to ask questions, they can type it in the Q&A section, which is there at the right corner of the menu option. They can type in as and when the panel member speaks, and we'll try to get it answered as per the time permitted. There's also a hand button at the bottom of the screen through which you can even raise the hand and come to the stage to ask questions to the speakers as well. So without wasting any time, let me hand over the stage to Samir, Chief Business Officer, who is handling retail, consumer, and logistics domain at InfoVision, and who is the moderator for this panel discussion as well. He's joined by Ken, Managing Director, same day and autonomous delivery product at FedEx. Then we have Nicholas, who is Head of Partnership Logistics Services and SaaS Solutions at LoadSmart. We have Sudhakar, who is Director of Software Engineering at Overstock. And last but not the least, we have Siddharth, who is Director of Engineering at Quiet Platforms. So over to you, Samir, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thank you, Nitin. Thanks for the introduction, guys. I'll a little bit. I'll introduce myself a little bit more. The reason why I'm here, as Nitin mentioned, I take care of the retail, consumer, and logistics vertical. But the reason I'm here in a warehousing session is because I come from a supply chain background. I have been running the JDA practice for last 10 years, actually. So the JDA Blue Yonder, you can call. So I've been running that practice. We were very, very strong in my, at least I was very strong in the past life with my team on the warehousing space. So that's the reason I'm here working with you guys or having this conversation with you guys. So good to be a part of this particular forum, and thanks for giving me an opportunity out there. Thank you very much. And I would request Ken, if you can introduce briefly about yourself, and we'll go around the screen that we are looking at right now.
Sure. Name's Ken Milliman. I've been leading the product management and the vision for Roxo, the same day bot, which is a on-demand delivery product that we're developing at FedEx. Recently discontinued from an investment standpoint, but I can definitely talk more about that. Also been working on the same day delivery service that we have, Same Day City. So very familiar with how we try to account for some of those on-demand and same day type of activities.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much. Sudhakar, can we go next, please?
Sure. Thanks, Samir. Myself, Sudhakar Namaswayam. I'm a Director of Software Engineering with Overstock. I lead the post-purchase experience for our customer in the sense from a software engineering perspective. This includes supply chain and customer care solutions. Excited to be part of this great panel here. Would love to share how Overstock manages its warehouse and also its partnership with the different suppliers.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Siddharth, can I request you, please?
Yes, please. So I'm Siddharth. I'm Director of Engineering at Quiet Platform, wholly owned subsidiary of American Eagle. I own the logistics platform of the entire transportation technology platform here, and I'm also responsible for expanding the network for Quiet Platform through the technology and integrating more partners here. Before Quiet, I have been a long time Amazonian and decided to join here. Excited to be part of this webinar, and let's see how I can contribute.
Awesome. Thank you, Siddharth. Nicholas, please.
Sure. Nicholas Curatolo, I'm head of partnerships for logistics service partners and SaaS solutions here at LoadSmart. And really the goal for me, joining this is really kind of to talk about the experiences I've had over the last 15 years, 10 of those addressed, but really taking this industry from analog to digital, right? It's very much so still behind in terms of technology, especially warehouses, and really feel passionate about, some of the solutions that are out there, not only that, say LoadSmart offers, but others offer, and really trying to work together as a community to create a frictionless environment in the warehouse space.
Thank you, Nicholas. So, guys, I'll kickstart this discussion, and I'll probably start with what just Ken mentioned. I think Ken mentioned that he's working on something about the same day delivery, and I was going through some articles maybe a few weeks back, and they mentioned that for 7 or 8 years in a row, the delivery, the speed of the delivery has been the top reason why a customer buys from a particular place. I think that's a big thing to say. And I have seen across retailers, across a lot of companies, that people are offering the same day delivery through any of the means, whether it's through last mile connectivity with Uber, Lyft, or anything, or Instacart, or they are trying to offer the same day delivery for that. So that's where we are. But just to offer the same day delivery, there are a lot of things that goes in the background apart from the simple warehousing function. So that's where I want to kickstart this discussion about what are the various technologies that you think are very very key? And so that I'll start with you because you've been part of Amazon and now you're looking at this thing. So, what are the key technologies that you think are very very important in making those the warehouse or making those kind of things easier, the same day deliveries and all those things kind of stuff?
Yeah. So, are you going first or shall I?
No, Sid, you go first. Actually,
Yeah. So I think few things. Same day delivery is a big challenge, right? I mean, uh, at the heart of all the technology, what we talk about, end result is that the physical parcel has to move across places, right?
right,
So identifying the closest place where the parcel is sitting or where the package can be shipped to that person is one thing. So all your inventories level stocks should be up to the date, and there should be services connected with all the network of the warehouses where you can pick up the parcel and then start the delivery, the closest point. Then calculation of the estimated delivery time that we do, so that whether we can promise the same day or not. There are, and we have to also understand that there are multiple scenarios. Companies like Amazon or FedEx, they have their end-to-end carriers within themselves, but there are other companies who have network of carriers. So not necessarily that company is having their own truck to pick up the parcel or the package from the location and deliver to the last mile delivery. In most of the operations, you will see that there will be somebody who will be picking the parcel from the store, delivering it to a warehouse, then from store to sortation centers, and from sortation centers to last mile delivery. And these are all different carriers, maybe. So understand the complexity that we have to identify the estimated delivery date from having so many places, touch points in between. Those are all manual operations today, with different points of integration that we will touch in the later discussion, and then arrive whether this package can be delivered from location A to location B within the same day or not. So
right.
this is in the background. All this calculation happens when somebody's trying to choose the same day delivery or any day delivery, for example. So yeah, Ken, you
Thank
want
you,
to add
thank you,
something?
Sid. No, I think that that's a good start because I wanted to go to Ken on that one because Ken, you have been sitting on a very very complex. I'm saying from a FedEx standpoint, but complex and very efficient network of all those things, right? What do you think are the key technologies that have enabled making such decisions as Sid was mentioning, a easier decision, whether the same day delivery is possible or and all those things. So I'll leave it to you, Ken, to kind of begin that.
Sure. Yeah, so basically, the speed of delivery has definitely been very challenging thing, especially around the unit economics of delivery, which is what we look at when trying to figure out the pricing model. Um, when you have a 2+ day delivery, you can batch up orders. You can do 100 different orders or pickups at a time, and be able to optimize in a sort facility so that you can get that the next day or day after, and you can really get that down to a lower cost by being able to do that optimization and the route optimization work. So the route optimization software is key in being able to
Yeah,
do that step. But there is now the capability that you need to put in place to decrease the cost further for the fast delivery, for that same day on demand or that next day morning scenario. And that's really where you can't just rely on a batch pickup and sort facility type of scenario. Really, that's where you have to either leverage a crowdsourced solution, which has its pros and cons, or autonomous delivery, which there's three variations of. Right now, you have the options of drone delivery, flying through the air. You have the van delivery, which are the ones that are constrained to the street, or you mostly have these smaller delivery devices, the sidewalk delivery devices.
yep. Exactly. So again, I'll pick up a small thing from what you mentioned. I think you talked about the autonomous deliveries or autonomous things that we have to do. So my question is, what are the other? And I was reading some articles again. I keep on doing that, but automation is going to be the biggest thing for any kind of technology implementation or making warehousing more effective. And I was reading and I spoke to a lot of people also. Some of the technology that people are talking about is like AI. The people are talking about robots. People are talking about I would say RFIDs, and these, some of those are pretty old, or I would say, when I say old, they have been in use for quite some time. But I'll tell you, I'll ask Sudhakar. Sudhakar, from your standpoint, what are the various technologies that you are seeing that are, and I think you can mention specifically some things, but what are the things that you are seeing right now being very, very effective in the warehousing efficiencies?
So for me, having real-time data to warehouse operations is key, right? In the past, we have reports built which goes through a big cycle of going through the data warehouse and then business users utilizing it. These days, we want to have real-time decision making at the hands of our, either the warehouse supervisors or even the warehouse personnel. So what that means is integrating data and presenting them with good analytics so that they can make those decisions quickly. And number two, there are going to be some manual process that that crop up in a warehouse. So finding ways to automate, right? Like I said, whether it's an engineering solution or you can also adopt some low code or solutions like RPA that helps eliminate some of those manual uh, processes and help automate this process. So that way, we are being predictable and consistent in our warehouse operations.
Got it. And I think what we have seen is moving from a warehouse which was a very, very manual warehouse to where we have robots today. And Nicholas, I'll probably ask you, because you have a very, very extensive experience on the warehousing side of things. So, what have you seen while you were working on the warehouse, and now you're about the technology part side of the warehousing part? So, what have you seen out there?
So I mean, technology is great, but I do think there is components, especially with some of these subscription boxes or some of these companies that give like personal care or handwritten letters. I mean, they do have those machines that do the handwritten letters, right? But there is
Yeah,
still something that people like about that charm of the way things are kitted, and they're used with a person, right? There are certain items that just you will not be able to automate per se. You can probably automate about 80 to 85% of the duties within the warehouse, but there's still going to be a need for some sort of human touch. I've seen robotics in pretty much every aspect of the pick and pack, except that end line, right? Somebody actually physically checking to make sure that robotics didn't screw up or the technology didn't screw up, right? There has to be that last line of defense. So for anybody who works in a warehouse, to me, like that's the thing that happens is all these folks get scared of implementing these technologies, especially the ones that are in the warehouse. They start, oh my God, they're going to take my job, right? Like, no, it's actually going to make you more efficient. But I think companies need to do a better job of actually explaining that to these employees and involving them in the process, right? Because I think that's why the growth is actually stagnated, and people get worried about it, right? And then we end up with issues where, like during COVID, when we needed people to come in,
yeah,
everybody was scrambling, and it was just total chaos. And I think still I see on away messages due to COVID, we're still 7 to 10 businesses. Like, what? So they're still hanging on that. But in terms of, I actually think it starts from the outside in. A lot of times you're like, oh, let's go from the inside out. And really, like, if you go to any busy warehouse, there's probably like, you go first thing in the morning, there's like 8 or 9 trucks just hanging outside waiting to get in. And that's because they're not embracing the technology. Like if you and I were going to have, a scheduled appointment, what would we do? One of us would send a Calendly link to each other, or we would coordinate, hey, here are the 3 times I'm available this week. Does that work for you? Well, that doesn't happen at the dock very often, right? So for me, it's really, adopting some sort of dock scheduling software and, basically in implementing that and making folks do it, because that's the problem is when we don't make it a requirement, people are like, well, I've always done it this way. Right. But those are the most expensive words in business. And for us to, as a community, to improve, the agility in the warehouse, we need to start first what goes in and then also what comes out. Right. So that's like, to me, like the crux on how to, you could have all the great technology in the world inside, but if you don't have the proper flow going in and out, everything else falls apart.
thank you. Thank you. And Sid, I would ask you a little bit more on the robotic side, because you were part of the Amazon, and Amazon was, I would say, they acquired Akiva and all those things. So they were the pioneers of the robotics, I may say so. So what have you seen on that side of the world, and how has that changed everything?
Yeah, I would maybe defer that question to Ken more because I think he's on the. I was not on the part of the robotics for Amazon. I was
Okay.
when with Amazon, I was part of more Alexa, and my core expertise is in handling large scale cloud services. So I
Okay.
have some idea, but I think there are better experts in the panel to talk about those
That's
things.
okay.
Yeah.
Ken,
Yeah,
do you have some insights into that, please?
yeah, I can give you an example. Like I was also in FedEx Innovation for a long time, and one of the things we were always trying to figure out is how we can create efficiencies within our sort facilities. And one of the things is we're seeing is the movement from using more traditional automation devices to robotic devices within the warehouse. And I get a good example of that, I think, is the progression of loading and unloading trucks, the technologies that are
Yes.
related to that. Let me go through a little bit example of that. So, I mean, traditionally you had these very large dedicated automation devices that are being put in place, sort of like the Honeywell pick a robot, Honey robotic unloader. That basically it's a costly device and only does one thing. It has one function, and it's not very extensible to other type of use cases and handling things. But I think the replacement of that is moving to more of a robotic type of device, which has more agility. You have the ability to do more things than load just a single function. You can load, unload, palletize, depalletize, kit. All these things can be automated within that function, which robotics brings a lot of capabilities to.
Thank you. Thank you. And Ken, on top of it, I have seen a lot of customers going through IoT right now. IoT is the buzzword right now. And have you seen in any of your scenarios, and this is open to everybody, including Sudhakar, Siddha, and Nicholas. What is the use case that you have seen IoT being most effective when it comes to WMS or warehousing solutions?
Yeah, for IoT, for FedEx anyway, it comes down to sensor-based logistics.
Yeah.
10 years ago, we developed the device SensorWare, which was a real-time environmental monitoring, location monitoring device that you can include with your shipment. And really, what we heard is people want to have more than just those endpoint scans. You want to have the
Yes.
visibility throughout the delivery, and really, these type of sensor devices that can accompany a shipment are really giving you that richer set of information that allows you to account for changes that might need to be made to the supply chain or to a given order, or even security concerns. You can do geofencing around a warehouse to be able to let you know that there is an item that has actually entered your area and you need to start prepping for it, for instance.
Got it. And also, I'll just add from my side what we have done actually. I should be telling you that we have created a drone solution, which is an indoor drone solution for the warehousing, actually for the inventory. So doing the cycle counting at the end of the day or in, the midday counting, the drones which are going to kind of avoid any kind of static or dynamic obstacles. Again, I think we are refining those solutions because drones are obviously based. There's a limitation of the battery and everything, so we are refining. But I'm just keeping. So the reason I'm saying this is because that is one solution. I know you mentioned about the last mile delivery through drones, which is like mentioned that. But I think there are a lot of customers who are using drones within the facility for all the inventory tracking and inventory cycle counting and all those things. So that's another area where I feel that there's a lot of I would say opportunity in terms of using technology for improving the warehouse agility. Any
And the
comments,
big
Sudhakar? Yeah, please go ahead. I mean, I can.
And the big benefit of that is in the wild, drones have to get regulatory approvals. They're limited in the United States from a lot of legal constraints.
Yep.
There's a lot of questions of what will the public be able to accept it. I think in a closed environment like a warehouse, some of these
True.
autonomous devices like the drones are going to be much more readily adapted
Yeah.
and be able to
Absolutely.
be used.
I think the other thing, and Sudhakar, I'll come to you very. The one thing which I have seen is obviously this indoor drones need to use lidar solution to because there's no GPS signal, so they're using the lidar solution. I think that's one thing, and also I believe we need to figure out how do we. I think there are a lot of technological aspects. Uh, Creating a layout of the warehouse, if there are dynamic obstacles which keep on coming up, how do we avoid? So I think those are the things. So that I'll leave. I'll come to you. And how have you seen this? Some like latest technologies playing out there.
Right. Like you said, inventory control is kind of a resource intensive or labor intensive process, right?
Great.
And having automation there is a great blessing in the sense that it could remove some of the inaccuracies or keep the inventory at the right levels, right? You mentioned about same day delivery. As
Yeah.
we shrink the delivery window, the fulfillment window keeps getting smaller, and any mistakes over there impacts your customers directly. So uh, yeah, I would agree that having automation there could improve the warehouse efficiency or consistency, as well as expand increase the customer experience.
Okay. Sid, have you come across you coming from the cloud-based solution and all those things? Have you come across some of the technologies that people are talking about from an overall like emerging technologies? I'm saying, like for example, we are talking about. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, definitely. And like IoT thing that you were talking about, right? And I think Ken touched upon a very important point. It's not about the ship start and ship end. People now today want the transparency, for example, at every stage of where the package is. So, for example, any package that goes through from an origin date to a destination date, for example, has a plan of execution, right? So, before, I mean, at the start of the label printing, when you are printing the label, you also generate a plan of shipment that will go from
Good.
point A to B, B to C, C to D, and then with multiple carriers, it will reach to the final destination point. So at the each center, right, whenever you are doing a scan, whether the package is we call those as a sortation center, uh, automatic signals generation so that that can be fed back to a centralized system where and update the plan of execution there so that the tracking events can be made available to multiple parties who are there. In an event of something going wrong at that center, the alternate plan A and plan B should be ready for multiple, just imagine this as a graph, right? The entire with multiple nodes of between origin and destination. So if let's say point B, something goes wrong at point B, immediately we should be able to reroute these packages to alternate routes that are available. All these things in a manual world, you can imagine, is so complicated. Creating those plans ready with the multiple sortation centers is something that where technologies have helped us a lot. So yeah, that's one area that we are working on, and then using a lot of data, right? Data is the key. Everywhere we are generating a lot of data and trying to capture as much data as possible and trying to see maybe what seemingly looks the shortest part in the transportation might not be the shortest part when it comes to actual physical transformation. So those kind
Okay.
of decisions we are making through advanced technologies and AIs and whatnot.
Okay. Now, wonderful. So, Sid, I'm assuming that when you talk about the algorithms that you're talking about, it's both within the warehouse and outside for the last mile delivery. Is that right? Or you're
Yeah,
talking
I mean,
specifically within the warehouse?
so warehouse fundamentally is within the four walls and outside the four walls. So these technologies are sitting on the cloud, and you want to keep warehouse as much technology agnostic as possible, right?
Hmm.
Because understand each warehouse is sitting on a technology which is very customized to that. Apart from very very big player, let's say for again coming back to Amazon and FedEx, where they have the ability to make uniform technology across their warehouses. In a normal world or rest of the world, they ship to multiple different warehouses and sortation centers which are sitting on different technologies. So
Hmm.
so these algorithms you want to abstract a level up, right? Let them live in their world, but you abstract all these things above them and then start building up algorithms and technologies and then translate into the language that the warehouses can understand. You don't want to disturb the live operations.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Nicholas, I think I want to hear your views on this as well, please, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think what Sudhir said, like, taking that data is key, right? In anything, but in terms of, trying to figure out the functions of how to make everything kind of go. If, like I said, yes, there will be some manual element, but adding technology and more solutions into the warehouse will actually make it more efficient. Like, imagine if there was, you know, if you took all this data and you were able to let a company know, like let's say a retailer like Puma or Ralph Lauren, and say, hey, Ralph Lauren, we see that we have your inventory in 11 warehouses throughout the country. Your top 10 SKUs are running low in these 4 locations. You need to be able to prepare, and be ready for these sales, because we see last year these same type of items sold in these regions, and right now you don't have enough inventory to actually support the sales that will happen. Like, imagine if that actually was taking place. I would imagine maybe in less than 5% of warehouse environment today that people are even using data that way, if they're even using it at all, right? Using that data to really make real life decisions and help, from not only just what's coming in the warehouse, but before it even gets to the warehouse, letting them know what they need to be doing for manufacturing schedules, how long they're going to need to get it there, how long that inventory, like, hey, today is, December 15th. We need this inventory by February 1st in order to fulfill sales in Q2, right? Like, that's the type of stuff that we should be looking towards as a community. Not just listen, there is enough business to go around. There's so many warehouses, there's so many companies that offer these great things, but it would be great if a few of them would just get together and really say, hey, what's actually the best experience we can give customers? Don't worry about competition. Like, just get in the room. What is the best way that we can really give a great experience with taking all these great minds and these great solutions and the space that we have, and and we could really lower, the emissions footprint, right? Which will obviously help in terms of climate change and all that stuff. Because in this industry, we're wasting a lot of gas, a lot of electricity, a lot of things that are harming our environment. But if we just work smarter and collaborate more, we actually can create a better experience from the manufacturing to the end user and everybody in between. So that's kind of my take, is like, data, yes, we need more of it, but we need to be sharing data and having data sharing relationships, even with our competitors, right, to provide a better experience.
And coming to
Wow.
consumer experience, just to Nicholas to add, imagine the entire experience of e-shopping is virtual unless you receive the package, right?
Yep.
The physical experience that has the virtual shopping has replaced, where we used to go to shop, touch the product, and feel. It has become virtual. So every experience, however important the Amazon.com or other Walmart.com look like, the physical experience comes when the package is delivered in the customer's hand. So that's the importance of the supply chain thing. We should understand that.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, think about it. It takes me like 5 seconds to order a pair of slippers or a toy or whatever, but no one thinks about what actually happens and what has to happen to make that
Exactly.
happen within a day or two. It's
Yeah.
actually
Absolutely.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
We should,
Unless
we
you're
should
touching
talk
the
about
physical
that
goods.
end consumer, that recipient of the package, as being a very big persona that we develop anything for. Really, when you think about that, that delivery is a key moment. That box opening experience, it's like Christmas
Exactly.
every day almost, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
want to make that as enjoyable an experience as you can.
Absolutely. Sid, you were saying something. Sorry.
No, I'm saying anywhere in the technological part, because I've been part of the retail for Amazon and now supply chain, where you're not touching the physical good, it's very easy to apply technology and make things very fast.
Correct.
But I have been harping on saying that here, all the technology at the end have to move physical goods. There are trucks involved, there are robots involved, there are physical packages involved, printing of the label, pasting of the label, scanning of the label involved. So technology can do as much as possible, but ultimately that manual touch is required there.
I completely get that. I'll tell you one more data point actually. So as per the report that I was going through, one of the reports, they said that 46% of the issues that happen, or repeated issues that happen, are due to the manual error, humans error within the system, the overall supply chain system actually, which
Hmm.
actually leads to 1.7 trillion of I would say lost opportunities. To be very honest with you, again, these are some data points, but again, what I'm coming back to is, I completely agree with the last what do you call a mile. I think human touch, that is very much required. But for all before that, to make it as error free as possible, I'm just thinking, so what are the other things that, and this question is open. I'll probably start with Ken. What are the other, I would say, technologies in terms of the automated vehicles or something that are very very much used in the warehousing setup, which actually improves our overall I think efficiencies and reduces the errors part of it. And what are the challenges? I want to get both sides of the stories actually.
Sure. Well, let me talk to some of the challenges, at least, of putting the autonomous vehicles into some of these environments. One of the biggest things is the infrastructure that's in place. With a lot of these devices, you need to have good communications, good networking capabilities, both inside and outside. If you don't have an effective Wi-Fi connectivity inside, you need to make sure you establish that. If you don't have the cellular connectivity or satellite connectivity outside, you're going to run into a lot of issues as well. The other big barrier that I think we encounter a lot, that when we try to figure out how to put an autonomous device into an environment, is what we call the edge cases.
Yes.
It's very not very very easy, but it's more easy to be able to get to 90 to 95% autonomy, using some of the best algorithms, core algorithms that account for most situations. But the reality is there's so many different situation scenarios. People are act strange. Objects fall and break and end up in different paths. And trying to account for all those different scenarios is extremely difficult. So that is one of the biggest barriers I know that we have in trying to build out the training for these autonomous devices and make them smart enough to be able to get to that 99.9% autonomy level. And that's one of the things that's just going to take time to be able to get to.
So also you mentioned a little bit in the beginning of the conversation was about the automated automation options that are available for loading and unloading when it comes to the warehousing. What are those options that you were talking about at that point in time?
Sure. So right now, like I said, there's the traditional methods, but now the new robotic methods largely go into two camps. One of those camps is the suction-based approach. You have these suction devices, but those have some limitations. They work well with flat surfaces, but also have issues with environmental, be it temperature, be it the humidity or dirty conditions. So there's a new branch of that that's using more of a manipulation approach. I know of a startup that's in Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown, called Dexterous Robotics, that is actually using one of these manipulation approaches. They use arms that kind of look like chopsticks, that really allows them to be able to overcome a lot of those barriers that those suction-based robotic devices currently are encountering.
Wow, awesome. I think the other thing which I was talking about was I think this is being used in a lot of warehouses, but pick to voice. I think those are or pick to light or something. Pick to light has been used for quite some time. Pick to voice. I think that's one thing which is being used for the last maybe few years, I would say. So what's been all your experience, Sudhakar? If you have some experience on that side, if you can touch base a little bit on that, please.
Sorry, Samir, I don't have expertise on that
That's
picture
okay.
voice. Yeah.
Anybody on the pick to voice, pick to light, which are being used in the technology space or in the warehousing space?
Mm,
I haven't seen
No.
I haven't seen as much pick to voice. I've seen I've seen a million of the pick to light systems, and I've seen utilization of it in many different creative ways. But I mean, the pick to voice, I've seen like videos and stuff. I mean, it's pretty like it's weird because I feel like so much can go wrong, in that scenario. I feel like there's a lot, like you almost have to identify the certain voice to that device and like sync it. Because especially in a loud warehouse, I feel like there could be some interference with it. And at least like the way they position it in the video doesn't do that. But my brain and thinking about warehouses and the random noises and the, I've never been in a real quiet warehouse during pick and pack time. So unless they're going to have those folks come and pick and pack overnight, which does happen in a lot of warehouses, then I guess I think there's going to be a lot of work that has to be done with that.
No, actually, you're right, Nicholas. I was lucky enough, in maybe around 3 or 4 months back, I visited a fully automated kind of robotics warehouse where I saw that in operations. But But you are absolutely right that that particular warehouse was very, very quiet, because for pick to voice, I think you need to have a complete understanding. Somebody needs to understand what you're speaking, actually. So I think that's very important. But I think that may be the future of things. Except for the last mile, maybe there may be future. But I saw that. That's why I asked this question to all of you guys. The other
Amir,
piece which I wanted, yeah, go ahead,
let me
please.
ask. There's a technology I'm not familiar with, pick the voice, but I know we've looked a lot of augmented reality.
Mhm.
Is anybody familiar with how augmented reality fits into that, where they can basically leverage metadata within a visualization to be able to identify items?
I would think it would help in the storage utilization, right? We
Mhm.
operate as a 3PL as well. So in terms of efficiently utilizing a warehouse, the augmented reality could help in positioning or finding the optimal location, right? And for that, you could leverage your prior order history, you know the rate of selling of that SKU, and your warehouse picking strategy, and all those go into selecting is your warehouse efficiently stored.
I
So
think,
now,
Ken, one more thing which I think very important in terms of AR VR that you were talking about is creating a digital twin of your I would say, not only the warehouse but from a supply chain perspective, the digital twin of the supply chain, the touch points. And I think I have seen quite a bit of discussions happening, especially on those side when it comes to technology. I have two of my customers talking to us on the digital twin of there, and this is basically gives you a visibility of inventory, a digital visibility of the inventory on those shelves, or in those I would say aisles and everything. And also it also gives you what is there to go wrong. So sometimes proactively figure out what can go wrong instead of reactively addressing something that this is already gone wrong. So that's another piece which have seen in discussion, in talks, in some form of implementation in the current scenario. Anybody else has dealt with or had any discussions on some of those aspects, the augmented reality, the digital twin, on any of those things?
yeah, I mean, see, the way that the world is going right now, uh, is that if you have a large storage space, like let's not call it warehouse, imagine a cloud of like cloud operations, right? You can in the same storage space you can set up warehouse for multiple companies. Not necessarily that warehouse is dedicated, or that big space is dedicated to only one company for a warehouse thing. So in a corner I can just rent a 20,000 square feet or a 40,000 square feet, as much as I need, and I can keep my good. So having a, a digital twin augmented with virtual reality and all helps you to organize such spaces very effectively, right?
Hmm.
Like say, I mean, all those from computer science background, just imagine that if you have to allocate 20 kilobytes of memory from the RAM, what is the best place to allocate that? So that's what we are now doing with physical storage spaces, right? So in actually going down to the warehouse, this will happen with the physical audit of people going down to the warehouse and then identifying, oh, this is the location closest to the truck, and the truck directly come into that. What kind of goods are being stored here? Is this a retail inventory or a machinery inventory? All those things, decisions are very important, right? So this can be simulated and done a lot simpler, and then in one final inspection, and everything can happen on technology, virtually, and then in one final inspection we can finalize that. So the entire process of this, which is few months now, can be reduced. Right, that's what I feel.
No, absolutely
One of
wonderful. That's a good thought process.
Hmm.
Nicholas, you have jumped to the technology side of the world. Anything that you want to add on that side? You've seen both sides of the world. That's why I'm asking you.
I have. I think, it's hard because it's easy to say like, oh, this technology works and this is the greatest thing ever, and you should buy this. But until you've actually lived in the warehouse space, until you've actually done each of the positions, and it doesn't mean like, hey, you had to been a dock worker or a pick and packer. But I mean, I've actually went and done those roles, even at, being in a higher role, to understand the perspective and also understand the journey from the actual inception of the dock, offloading, all the stuff that comes in, to ultimately, having it go through the sort, putting it away for stock or building smaller little pick and pack areas for high volume SKUs. Like I've done all that process. Um, and I just think that more folks that are in the technology space should get in and be touring warehouses regularly, because that's how we're going to create better technology. Not just somebody sitting in a boardroom with a whiteboard saying this is what should be done. We need to actually get our hands dirty. And I know it was tough during the pandemic because everybody was, remote. I mean, I wasn't, honestly. I was in warehouses. Well, I probably was in more warehouses during the pandemic than I was in the last 13 years before that. But you really need to do that. So I think more discussions like this, but at a higher level as well, where people are really making decisions to really want to improve it, not just for the sake of the sale, right? I think that's where people really lose it, is like, this is a service piece, right? Like this is really changing lives. Think about it. 15 years ago, you weren't able to get on your phone and order something that shows up to your door in hours. I mean, there are certain items in Amazon that like I could get within 6 hours, as opposed
Yes.
it's insane. Like when Amazon came into the space and announced like even the 2 day, and I think it was 3 day initially that they announced, right? I think it was 3 days.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there, I already lost my hair. I'm like, how the heck are they going to do that, effectively, right? So now it's the standard, right? You order something, you expect it at your door 2 to 3 days. So it's literally sped up, the clock by like 30 years, right? Because that's what you expected future state. So I mean, to me, it's really just, as a community coming together and really figuring out, how to improve every aspect. Not really, it's the people first. How do we get people not being so insecure about embracing technology? And then
Yes.
how do we improve the efficiencies in each area of that chain? And that starts even before it gets to the warehouse, because I don't know if you guys are aware of the dock situation and drayage, but I'm sure if you weren't, you were in the middle of COVID. I mean, Long Beach has not adopted any technology whatsoever, and now it's actually shown. If you look at the numbers, a lot of folks are swinging around and sending inventory to the East Coast and even Southeast, because why? They're embracing technology. And it's also getting quicker to get through the ports. So even though it takes an extra week and a half, hey, well, at least I know I'm going to get my stuff. Because you could have went down to Long Beach and just looked, hey, there's my container, but I can't get it. I can see it, I can touch it, but I'm not going to be able to offload it. Well, why? They didn't have technology in place, right? So I think it's really starting it at that front end and then bringing it to each step to make sure that, hey, it's great. We got the inside of the warehouse down. I can tell you that, right? Inside of the warehouse, there's plenty of technology. I think it really starts from the beginning of that process, and then at dock door. I think those are your two biggest problems right now to increase, to really get warehouse agility where it needs to be, because you could have all that crazy good stuff inside, but if the bottlenecks are happening and stuff that you can't control, we have a bunch of data that can do that, right? So I think we should use that data and do it. Okay, Kevin.
Yeah,
Nicholas, yeah, go ahead, please. Ken, please.
to piggyback on what Nick is saying, I mean, one of the biggest barriers to adoption, I think, that we are looking at and we're trying to overcome is, I guess, societal acceptance of a lot of these technologies.
True.
And really, we've identified three personas that when we look at like the last mile, we look at the origination, the employees that have to interact with that autonomous device. We look at the recipient. Obviously, consumer is very important if it's a consumer or business. But then the other thing in general is just society at large. Is when some of these devices are outside the warehouse environment, are they going to be accepted by society?
Yeah.
So that's all these things need to be come together in a way that accept them as part of their lives.
Absolutely. And I think I'll bring in a small concept out here. We've heard about a lot of these things, but blockchain is one thing. And the reason I'm saying is, we all talked about the visibility piece of it, right? What is going on, about where it is. So blockchain, I have seen more and more people actually. There's no company that have implemented a blockchain end to end kind of stuff. So but there are people who are doing small projects on blockchain, which can enhance the visibility, which can actually provide the transparency, which can I think which can make people comfortable with the kind of solution that they are trying to put in place. So again, that's a very different concept, right? That's there, but still a part of the technology that we are looking at right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That,
think one more point that I wanted. Oh, sorry, if anybody has any point, actually.
no, no, I said Walmart has used it blockchain very effectively in
Correct.
their food delivery pieces, and it's been effective there.
Yeah, I think one of the things where and said I completely concur with you, because the track and trace, which is in terms of the food industry, can very much be enabled using blockchain. I've seen for dairy industry, from cow or the from farm to the shelf, people track off for consumer goods, or a retail industry. When it comes to like high end retailing, people want to know that if I'm buying a Louis Vuitton, where it is coming from. Is it a genuine Louis Vuitton? So those are few things which actually tells us where it is coming from. It's who, where, how many hands it has passed over the last maybe 4 or 5 days, or maybe a few months. Those are few things which are getting enabled through blockchain right now.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's one aspect, Savita. Think about other things, right? For example, we have not touched another big beast that exists in this is invoicing.
correct,
Invoicing is super complicated, super manual, Excel or even file based. People share those files on email, right? So generating those invoicing and auditing becomes easy if you have the transparency and other thing.
correct.
And
It is.
more complicated than shipping the package from origin to destination is our returns, right?
Yes, that is
And
true.
when to allow returns. So imagine if I have complete transparency, if a package is going from Portland to New York, and if I know where exactly these packages is and what are my cutoff dates for shipment, if somebody cancels this package, I can avoid shipping the package till New York and then transfer it back to somewhere returns as a facility, right? And that's a huge debt on the everybody in the chain, right,
Absolutely.
from the retailer to everyone. So yes, the customer wow experience to know where the event is it's originating is, yes, one of the side effect, but these things also can be made much more efficient if we have the blockchain technology. I mean, the local registers, copy of registers at every center wherever the package is going.
Absolutely. I think that's so. Again, this is what I was talking. I was about to bring about. There are two aspects to this. One is the customer experience part of it. Second is the cost optimization, or at least the process optimization piece of it. I think
Yeah.
you have touched upon the process optimization of the blockchain piece of it. That awesome. I also wanted to touch on one thing which, but I think we mentioned and we talked about, that was the print and labeling piece of it. Now, I have seen two extremes out there. I have seen people doing the manual printing and labeling of the packages. I've seen that as well, and I have seen there. I think an IoT devices enabling that automated print labeling, print label printing and application of those things. So I think those are some of because that's where I feel that there are a lot of errors that happen, and and the more we are able to eliminate those errors, the more we are able to avoid those errors, that's going to be the benefit, the overall benefit from a supply chain perspective. Any comments on that one, Sid, or Ken, or Sudhakar, or Nicholas, please?
Yeah, automating packing and labeling is great. One of the challenges that we have seen is the accuracy of dimensions, right? The product dimensions. Do we have clear information on it? Do we have automated solution to weigh a package and make sure it's the right dimension? And then the other thing is around package consolidation. Like, how do we make sure that we can put three boxes in a larger boxes, or three items in a larger box and then ship it out? So there are going to be challenges, but not that technology cannot help there. Like, there are solutions available in the market that can help what do you call package optimization, and that could help in automating some of those processes.
No, I think Sudhakar, one point, very important point that you brought up, and it just struck me. I was watching a video. I was watching a video of a machine which actually dynamically generates the boxes depending on the size of the package. Instead of a standard box that is there, and you put the box, put the product in the box for shipment. I have seen. I don't know what the cost of that machine is, but I have seen that dynamically kind of creating boxes out there so that it doesn't waste products out there. Again,
Okay.
this is
So
I like that concept, but
Samir, I'll caution you again. Again, I'm bringing back your memory issue. Imagine this is a very good solution if you think from the packaging perspective, but trucks
Correct.
are not made that way, right? I mean, a very small distributed side of package will result ultimately in lesser loading of your trucks and ultimately more fuel inefficient than clubbing those packages. So the world is super
No,
complicated
you're
here.
absolutely. So I'm saying it's a matter of whether you want to do an end-to-end optimization or you are doing a piecemeal optimization.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
bringing to Nicholas' next point, right? I mean, somebody has to go on the ground and understand the end-to-end optimization, not do a macro or micro optimization, but think about how the solution will work. But I'll still come back to that printing label thing, right? Because that's very crazy world out there.
yeah,
The label formats right now, the printers support multiple formats, right? PNGs, something called Zebra printers, which support ZPLs. There are printers who support PDF. There are printers who support MPCL. All these languages, these are proper like formatting languages like HTML, and it's very difficult for anybody to have expertise on those things. There's no standard way of printing, or like one you generate one format and it can be converted into another format for printing. Now imagine a warehouse operations. I have tried to automate everything, but they are using multiple kind of printers, and one of those printers does not accept a format that I'm sending. The whole operation shuts down, right? I mean,
Mhm.
these kind of issues is there where we need to abstract certain things out, provide a layer which can be like a uniform labeling format for everything, right?
Yeah,
Another challenge that we face usually is you decide on a format of a label which is very good to scan on a box. The moment that label goes on a bag, which is a very common shipment method, the chains are not able to, the scanners are not able to scan those, right? Detecting these kind of issues in advance is something that instead of somebody reporting that, oh, the scanners are missing the barcode reading, and then notifying the technology piece is a very late in the chain. So we are coming up with ways and mechanisms where, as the error happens, time to resolution, to reduce the time to resolution, as the error happens, I get notified in some way, some alarm is triggered, and some frontline support is already there to regenerate the label or whatever is possible.
yeah. So Sid, I have one. I've seen one more thing. For the label printing and everything, there are some processes, some norms that are mandated by big companies like the third party companies like FedEx, some companies like UPS. They actually mandate that the what kind of printing needs to be put and how the label needs to be put on the boxes.
Yeah.
That may be one of the standardized way of avoiding any of those things, but there are a lot of companies which actually helps in the logistics, the actual physical movement of of the product. So I think that's where we need to kind of, if there is an overall standardization that can be done, that will be awesome. But I think that's probably longer, pretty down
Yeah,
the
and
game.
for a smaller warehouse, it means that I have to replace all my printing and scanning mechanisms to what Amazon and FedEx is dictating. And again, I'm not sure how many warehouse can afford to do that right
Yeah,
now.
no, true, absolutely right. Ken, you've been on the other side of means like working for FedEx. Have you seen this thing, or have you come across a solution that can be implemented that can actually transform this thing on the from a resume company side of things?
Well, what I would love to see personally, like you said, is standardization as much as
Yeah,
we can get. But it's difficult. I mean, to be able to capture the type of information that's needed uniquely for your network. That's what these carriers are running into. I think one of the technologies that's going to get us off the paper label ultimately is going to be the near field communication and some of those uh, technologies that let you just use a transmitted chip to tell you what kind of information is on that item. That now the question on that is, when is the cost going to be available to be able to put that on every single item going through a warehouse?
absolutely. Guys, I'll actually, there are some two good questions on the side which I'm going to say. I think one question that was asked by Archana around 14 minutes back, and I just looking at it. So what technologies do you suggest to stick to for more agile warehouse operations? Maybe looking forward to 2023. That was the one question. And then Brian Clark asked a question 2 minutes back, which says that with the wide range of technology and warehouse solution available today, when do you use what technology? I think both are related. That's why I actually clubbed these two questions. So again, I'll start. I think one of us have to kind of probably take the bull by the horn. So Ken, I'll start with you probably actually.
when do you use one of, well, I can talk to the same day technology, same day delivery technology, the portfolio I talked about. The reality, we were building a delivery device that was side of road and sidewalk. And I mentioned that there are different variations of these autonomous delivery devices. There's ones that are just on the sidewalk. They're really coolers on wheels, smaller cargo bays, and they have their place. And everything has a place. The coolers on wheels basically can fit a smaller order, but the problem is that I think they're constrained to a campus environment, or the range is very, very limited. Now, the good side of those is that the cost of manufacturing those is inexpensive, so you can have a larger fleet of those type of devices. Then the van, which is on a road, you have the van, autonomous van, that then has the larger cargo space, can fit more items, can do a multi-stop delivery, get better unit economics. It goes faster in those environments, so it can go further. That's the trade-off. Then you have the drones. The drones are limited by weight, so they can only cover. Most of them have a 10-pound limit, from what I've seen. So they can't deliver some items that are too heavy. But they can go places that these ground-based vehicles can't go. They can go to rural areas potentially if they have enough battery life. They can go to vertical use cases, urban centers where there might be a delivery on the 25th floor, much better than a ground-based vehicle. So at the end of the day, I think it's not one device is going to be doing autonomous device delivery. I think it truly is going to be a portfolio of all these types of devices, and it's really use the one that best matches the use case or need that you have at that time.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to add a little bit more into it?
So I would say if you don't have a warehouse visibility software or tool, invest in that, right? That was a big change for us. It helped us to look at the warehouse operation at a micro level, and then in the spirit of agile, make those small changes and observe, how is the warehouse operating, and then, you can evolve. So creating those solutions where you have better visibility and, like Nicholas pointed out, seamless integration with the third party and other other software within the ecosystem is essential.
Thank you. Sid, anything, or Nicholas, anything from your side on this one?
It's a very like loaded question, right? Because it really depends on the situation and the circumstance and the size of warehouse you have. It goes with anything else. It's like, well, when do you let's peel it back for a second. When you're a brand, when do you decide to outsource your warehousing as opposed to like when you're first starting up out of your garage, right? When's that? When are you supposed to now outsource it, right? When is the right time? My answer is there is never a right or wrong time. It's really about what level of control you're comfortable with giving someone else for your brand. And I think that's the same that goes for your warehouse. When are you comfortable not controlling everything? Well, when do you actually scale? You scale when you don't hover over everything, but you make informed decisions on the technologies you're using or the methods or practices you're using. And that is ultimately how you can decide, what you're going to use, when you're going to use it, how you're going to use it. It's really about you as the decision maker and the organization itself and what stomach you have for each particular situation. I think that would be the only way that I could potentially answer that question, because I'd have to have way more data and information.
No, absolutely. I think the technology is different for different processes. So I think we have to make a very kind of judgmental decision, I would say. But I'll touch upon the last point before we actually kind of call it a day, is about the sustainability. I think one of the things that people are talking about is sustainability in terms of every single means. I think we're talking about the from technology enabling the optimization, which will in effect improve the sustainability part of it. But what are the things? What are the steps that I'll start with you, Ken, that FedEx is taking to improve the sustainability? I would say, and how the technology is helping out there.
Well, definitely the transition to electric vehicles is a major transition. I think Nick alluded to it earlier, but the carbon footprint supply chain is huge. So basically, anything we can do to reduce that carbon footprint, and I think moving to these battery-operated vehicles or all these autonomous devices we're talking about are battery-operated. So that's
Yes,
personally something I'm very proud of. Is that movement is going to improve the sustainability overall across the supply chain.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming go ahead, Sid, but I'll add I'll later on, please. You were saying something.
Yeah, I mean, as I think Sudhakar and was also talking about the package consolidation, right? It is see the efficiency of the entire operation works how loaded the trucks are running, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
if we optimize the loading of the trucks by while we definitely agree like with Ken that we should transition to electric vehicles, but in the meantime we should optimize the loading of the trucks, the maximum amount of goods going from one direction to other direction, and the loading is again a very loaded term. In mix, loading means you have to have the inventories at right place, right inventories at right places, right routing of the outer at right. So there's a lot of set of technology that goes behind in effective loading of the trucks, which is the net result of your fuel efficiency.
yeah,
um, and some part of the consumers also is there. I'm not sure how many of us still go and pack that even if I get a package one day late, but I will still like to have in lesser boxes, right? So unless there is no incentive to the people or get some extra $2 credit or something, nobody opts for that option, right? Today there are options available of receiving the
right.
package in lesser boxes. So responsibility lies everywhere. Everybody's trying to optimize it, but if see, unless you translate the sustainability into dollars, the companies are not going to oblige to it, right? I mean, if I'm losing business because of sustainability, then sustainability is not sustainable. Right. So responsibility is on end consumers also. Please do opt for lesser packages that helps these companies to come up with algorithms and solutions to optimize the packaging and loading, which has a lot of impact. I mean, overall, if you see the number of trucks that are running, it has a huge impact. So that's what I wanted to add.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, thank you. Sudhakar, anything on the sustainability piece from your side?
I think Siddharth covered well, right? Picking the right procurement solutions and making sure you're using the recyclable products, and also not having what do you call manual processes that prints paper. And we opted out of packing slips, for example. It's a simple
Hmm.
solution. If a product is ship alone, just slap a label on the product and ship it, instead of trying to put it in another box and then shipping it out. Helps in the efficiency as well as reducing paper.
Thank you, Nicholas. Any final comments on this piece?
No, I think Sid had a great point. If you're not incentivizing the customer to do it just because you think it's the right thing to do for the environment or the right thing to do for the warehouse, they they don't care. It's not improving their experience. So unless you
Yeah.
say, hey, you're going to get 20% on all your orders that you send with us if you do this method, well, hey, then you'll see the behavior change, right? So I mean, to me, it's really that's where folks that are sitting and making these decisions aren't understanding each piece of it. Yes, from a practical standpoint in the process, totally makes sense. But to me, the person clicking 2 clicks and a swipe to buy doesn't matter to me if it shows up six
Yeah,
different ways. I want the item when I want the item, right? So that's the reality. So, I think that's really as a whole, like the wake up call should be to anybody that's trying to improve this is don't you can't think of it just from one level. You have to really think about it from all aspects, and that's how we'll truly improve, the warehouse agility with technology and improve the supply chain in general with technology. Take it from analog to digital.
absolutely. So thank you, Nicholas. Thanks everyone. Actually, I just summarized. I was trying to summarize something. So I think we all spoke about the automations, the kind of using the I think as Ken mentioned, the automated vehicles, the automations that can be within the four walls or that can be done for the last mile or the delivery part of it, whether it is drones or robots or automated guided vehicles and all those things. So that's one. We also spoke about improving the efficiencies in terms of the labeling, in terms of using the IoTs for communication with the devices, creating a kind of digital twin, or Sudhakar, as you mentioned, a visibility of your entire warehouse where we can actually prevent things out there. So also, I believe we spoke about drones and I think to reduce cost, and then the data driven. I think we did not we actually touched upon data. We did not go into details of data, but I think that's one thing which is going to kind of help us make the right decision, whether it is using the optimization of the containers, as Siddharth mentioned, this optimization of the package, optimization of the routes that we can talk about. As Ken mentioned, the milk runs, which can be done through an automated vehicle. So I think those are some of those things that can be made use. The data becomes the key for every of those things. So I think we spoke a lot about that. And finally, we talked about the sustainability, because at the end of the day, technology is going to be an enabler for us. Technology is not going to be a cost. It's going to be a cost, but at the end of the day, it's going to be an enabler for achieving this in a better way, in a very more optimal way, in a more consumer friendly way, and more, I would say, the customer experience that we're going to enhance. That's how I would say. I just want to summarize. In case if I missed something, please add. But really, really happy to have this conversation with you guys. It was so nice to kind of hear all of your perspective, because you have been the practitioners. You have actually seen both the sides of the world. You have seen the actual physical warehouse and the technology aspects. Really, really happy to kind of have this discussion with you guys. Any final comments, actually?
I think again, I thoroughly enjoyed with so much different expertise in this field, talking to all of you. Again, learning experience every time we appear on such a platform. We learn something
Absolutely.
from each other, so it was good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I really appreciate the forum and hearing different perspectives of people, and I really like the idea that it's not just focusing on the technology, but focusing on the people and how it integrates in to what's
Yeah,
happening in the warehouse and outside of it.
absolutely. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for your time today. We'll be in touch, but really, really appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samir, for moderating this great panel discussion. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Sudhakar. Thank you, Siddharth. So let me wrap this discussion as it is. It is the final, warehouse retail webinar from AI Core Sport side this year. So happy New Year in advance to all of you guys. So just to wrap up, we would like to thank our community partners, speakers, and attendees who came through this for enriching knowledge through this forum. We had great set of panel speakers. Just for your information, today's event was broadcasted in the YouTube and Facebook page of our company. So you all can go and see the recording anytime. Please log on to our website and like the social media channels. We'll be sharing lots of knowledge sharing topics, details, announcement of next events,
Guys.
and much
So
more,
just to wrap
which will help you register and attend the same. Also, we would like to thank InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is technology partner. Digit7 have a great innovation lab of 15,000 square feet in Richardson, and any one of you who's dropping by can always go to their office, have a look to feel that. To understand more in depth, connect, and to suggest any aspect to them, all of you can go through their website, which is infovision.com and digit7.io. Further, there are lots more in stores for next month and year as well, with focus on banking, financial insurance, retail, telecom, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, energy, utility, and so on. So request all of you to keep connected with us and enjoy the learning. Again, Happy New Year in advance. Thanks, and do take good care of yourself. Have a lovely day and weekend ahead. Bye.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.